All right. Okay. Didn't even give you guys
Okay.
a choice.
Okay, very good.
Thank you for meeting with us. Dr. I'm going to make sure I pronounce this right. Korotkov?
Yes, but you can name it Konstantin. It's easier.
Oh, okay. Okay, Konstantin. Well, thank you, for taking time to meet with us. I really appreciate it. I want to read your bio for those that aren't familiar with you. And I'm going to tell anyone that's looking at this, if you really want to take a deep dive into a lot of different things that are not only scientific, but very spiritually based, any of Konstantin's work is all about that. And it's pretty amazing. So you're a mountaineer. He's a mountaineer. He's a professor. He's a world-renowned scientist who has devoted his life to studying human biological fields and energy of the environment, and many controversial topics of our world from a scientific perspective. Science, information, and spirit. This is a recurring slogan of his work for many years, and also the name of the international congresses held in St. Petersburg every July. And that's St. Petersburg, Russia, not Florida.
Yes, right.
Yeah, so welcome. And then I'm also joined by my co-creator, Alex Lipton. And Alex has the gift of not only shamanism, but videography. He's a trained facilitator in Psych K, which is an energy psychology healing modality. And he is involved and participates in ceremonial experiences with indigenous cultures. And he's a born uplifter of humanity. So thanks, Alex. Alex is going to be part of just questions, and then he's part of our filming process and the interviews and stuff. So anyway, so thank you both for taking the time. I'm going to just begin by saying, so you've been studying subtle energy fields as a quantum physicist for how long?
Little bit more than 50 years.
Wow, that is so awesome.
Yes.
Is it true that this focus of your life's work began with a request to study telepathy or Kirlian photography, or like a kind of esoteric topic?
You see, I started as a quantum physicist, and
Mm-hmm.
first part of my work in the university was just pure quantum physics
Hmm.
and related to plasma physics and lasers, optics, so many different topics. But
Mm-hmm.
then somehow I was introduced to Kirlian photography, and I was given an order from our Academy of Science of Soviet Union by the time to study the physical principles of this, to understand, is it something real or is it fake?
Mm-hmm.
And it was very interesting work. So I started with physical principles. I did my first PhD was on this very interesting physics. And then slowly, I drifted to spirituality. So it was inevitable, I think,
Mm-hmm.
because Kirlian photography by that time and now Biofield, Gas Discharge Visualization, GDV, it's one of the way how we can scientifically study spiritual topics.
Mm-hmm.
We understand that we talk about spirit, we talk about our soul, we talk about energy of the of our body, of biological field, and it seems to me something strange. But
Mm-hmm.
now at this time, in 21st century, it's a part of our scientific curriculum. And my goal was to establish this scientific line. And I'm really happy that now it's going on like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's to separate, like one of the first things that I discovered when I was really reading about subtle energy fields is how at the universities at the early 1900s, Yale Medical School was using magnets because they knew that we had ions moving around our body. So I'm really happy that we're getting back to that understanding, and relating that to people, whether it's emotional healing or physical healing, you know. This
Yes, you're right, because in the beginning of 20th century, it was a lot of attention to electrical processes in the body, to optical process, to influence of light in medicine, of magnetic, electrical fields. Then
Mhm.
somehow it
Mhm.
was suppressed.
Mhm.
And development we started in 1980s only. But now we are in 21st century. So now it's going very well. So
Yeah,
now
yeah, yeah. And your
we have
bio, so you mentioned the name BioWell earlier. So for those that aren't familiar, that's a device that you created and have been enhancing in various ways for a while now. And my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it reads, you put your fingertip in it and it reads, it creates, it stimulates the fingertip in a way where then we can read the meridian energy from a Chinese meridian perspective, and it creates a visual on the computer screen of the energy then around the body that's tied into those meridians.
you are right, but in this process we have two sides.
Okay.
One side is process, physical process.
Mm-hmm.
We extract photons and electrons from our hands, from our fingers,
Mm-hmm.
by very short impulses by electrical field. This is physics or
Mm-hmm.
biophysics. Then we make interpretation. We make analysis based on some ideas, algorithms.
Mm-hmm.
So I developed several algorithms, how based on this information that we extract from fingers, we can correlate it with meridians. You're absolutely right. With chakras, with energy. Of course, it was based on ideas of many other physicists, doctors, scientists. So it was not just myself. It
Mm-hmm.
was collective work, as always in science. But now it is proven that it's really very efficient. We have hundreds of clinical trials. We have hundreds of papers published in different parts of the world. You can look at our library, and then so it's proven that it works. It allows to make really good conclusion about your past, your present, and your future.
Wow. Wow, I haven't had the experience of using it yet. But I was familiar with it from a couple years ago because I attended a Dr. Joe Dispenza retreat. And I had cast out to the universe because we were involved in this project trying to understand the changes with an aura camera in the field. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But I was just like, how do we know what the energy is doing in the room, with crystals and different things? And then I'm at the workshop and he's like, we have this device called the Sputnik, and it's this gold orb and it's got these lines coming out of it. And it measures the energy of a room. And I was like, oh, that's what I've been casting out a question to the universe, like, is there anything out there that does that? And so anyways, that's how I came about learning a little bit more about the BioWell. And we came very close to getting a Sputnik to do that experiment, and then that kind of got put on hold. But anyway, but yeah, so I was starting to learn about it, and that so with just even understanding, we've been doing these before and after photos with something called an aura cam developed by I think he's a scientist, Dr. Guy Calkins. And that's been around for a long time, like using the Polaroid film. And it has this, like the old Polaroid film, but it has these hand plates you use. And it supposedly registers the electromagnetic current from the hands and then does some sort of double exposure with the photo. So then you see these different color changes. And I think historically, a lot of people thought when they had their aura photo taken that was just their aura color, and so I would meet people in this process that some of them had their aura photo taken. They're like, oh yeah, my photo, my color is orange or whatever, right? And then they were so surprised when we did these before and afters. We tried to approach it from an experimental basis to see if we could to really gauge changes with crystals, and it expanded into you know, even before and after things of, I'm an Akashic record reader and accessor. So we even did before and after, like, you know, just me, my photo of me, and then I'd open up the Akashic records of myself, you know, and take a photo. Or I also opened up the Akashic records of Jesus. So these different, so you see these different changes, which was kind of interesting, and especially interesting to this aura photography reader, because she had been doing this for 20 some years and she had never really done this type of experiment to see changes. And the things that we did, her interpretations are more around these different colors mean different things. So they could mean attribute of the person, or if there's orbs, or like what they would be like bands of colors, they would be interpreted as angelic support or guides and things like that. So this is sort of very, very different, you know, from your scientific way of measuring the auras and stuff. But in our approach, it's been more for me, it's been this knowing that we have energy around us, supporting us and loving on us, and that we are energy that never ceases, you know. So, and that if a skeptic steps in, they could certainly question all that, you know, but if you have an open mind to a lot of these things, and I think that's what I would encourage anyone looking at any of this work. And from your perspective, it's very different because it's very science oriented and studied. And in our perspective, it's, you know, there's not the level of consistency, you know, that you've been able to kind of demonstrate. But how would you describe like this aura and this idea of consciousness, and then this interplay of the aura and consciousness?
Okay, first of all, about a couple of words about this device. This is really interesting toy, so a lot of people play with this. Origin of this comes from beginning of 90s again. It was in Britain, it was scientist Kilner, who first was using these Polaroid screens or films to capture some light around the body. And later it was proven that it is some hot air. Because yes, we have temperature 36 degrees centigrade. Environment it's about 25. That allows warm air coming from our body. It's emanation. And of course, it depends on activity of our skin, because our skin has capillaries that are activated by autonomic nervous system, sympathetic parasympathetic response. So when we change our sympathetic nervous system response, when we are under stress or under some emotions, of course, we change conductivity of our skin and we change temperature. Maybe it is tiny change, not even 1 degree, but it's enough to change the emanation of air, warm air around our body. Plus, of course, with special software, it's possible to add some colors to this, and this is algorithm. So it gives interesting visual forms, and a lot of people like it. So that's, of course, it's not scientific tool, I understand this. But it's interesting to play and to see how with your own emotions you can change some parameters of your, I would say, energy field, because it's a part of energy field. And I don't like word aura because it has some spiritual connotations or religious connotation. We talk about energy fields. And energy fields or biological fields, human fields, it has many different parameters. It is electrical, magnetic. As we've told with you just now, it's warm, heat as well.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, 1 second. Christian, I will call you later because now I'm on Zoom. Okay? Christian, I will call you later because now I'm on Zoom. Okay, I'm sorry. It was.
No worries.
1 second.
That's really interesting about the heat. I never really thought about it that way, you know, in terms of the energy field and how it has to do with the air as well.
Mhm.
Way.
Yeah, so it's very well known effect. It's
Is that sort of
second.
what biofeedback is about with the electromagnetic fields? The biofeedback, is that about measuring heat?
No, biofeedback may be different topics. You can
Oh,
measure electric activity. You can measure heat. You can measure some currents in the body. So it's just response of the body to something. This is biofeedback.
yeah.
Biofeedback.
Okay.
That's different instrument. They use different topics, of course. So, but again, it's very useful topic. So that's why. And coming back about aura, as I've told you, it's a combination of different fields, different emanations. Plus, of course, it's some parameters that related to quantum principles, to quantum field. And that's why we can have distant healing, we can have spiritual healing, we may have influence at the distance to different instrumentations, what we are studying. We can have telepathy. It's all part of our energy field. And
Yeah.
it's all part of
Yeah.
quantum world.
You know what I found interesting was looking at a lot of the BioWell photos or images. We had a guy that came for, like, he volunteered to come for a session with us, you know, and we did, everyone we did initial energy field photo or a photo, you know, and then we did, I cleared everyone's field with Palo Santo. And you would, in almost all cases, you saw the field expand with the Palo Santo, which was kind of interesting. And his field expanded a little bit, but in his field, and we asked everyone to bring something special to them to be photoed with. And in his field, there were these like dark kind of breaks. And in the, looking at a lot of the images from the BioWell, when somebody's not well, like their energy's not flowing correctly, you kind of see breaks. And in our interpretation, so Liz is amazing. She's a healer, you know, amazing, but she's an amazing reader of people's energy fields. And so she told him that he was holding on to anger and some stress. And it was related to a male because of where the energy change, one of the energy changes when he brought in his object, he brought in a baseball cap. And I would find out, we all would find out, we didn't know at that time, but we all would find out that his son had committed suicide a few years earlier. And so she encouraged him, you know, to heal that aspect, that, you know, anger, you know, that he had around his son taking his life. And so it was just, some of the things were a little interesting, like when I was looking and reading through and looking at the different images with the BioWell, how the energy, like you were just saying, we're energy, and if it's, I guess it's not flowing, is that what happens? And it gets these breaks?
No, of course, you are absolutely right. Biowell is very sensitive to the change of energy due to different interventions, due to emotional state. And strong spiritual healers, of course, they can make tremendous effect on people. I know many in this kind, and just recently I have a book published on Amazon.com Those the name of the book, The Magicians of the Quantum Era.
Cool.
And in this book, I talk about different spiritual healers whom I know, and Joe Dispenza in particular, because he's really a fantastic person.
Yeah.
And I describe different experiments that we did together.
Mhm.
Because for me as a scientist, it's very important to prove that it's really not just imagination, but it's really something. And
Yeah.
one topic of to take measurements of people before, after some healing sessions, and we have a lot of experiences. This other topic, which is very interesting for me, to send intention to some devices, and we can use water sensors that we have, or we can use Sputnik, that again very sensitive to register, to detect intentions, human intentions. And we did many experiments of this kind with many fantastic people like Lynn McTaggart from Britain, like Joe Dispenza, like Christos Drosinakis from Germany, like Victor Filippi from Germany, and other people. So for me, it is really proven that with our intention, with our mind, with our consciousness, we can influence reality. And that's very important.
Mhm.
And of course, I believe that with our experiment, we can prove it for many people. Because one way, if people believe in this, other way, if they want to have some proof.
Yeah.
That's very important. But it's not for everybody. But if there are many people who want to see real proof.
Right. Well, I'm reading your book, the Energy and Consciousness book that you wrote. It's really, I mean, your writing, I really enjoy your writing because so authentic, and it's like informative and descriptive, and it's this whole concept of, like you said, the skeptic or the person that, like, I had a person that looked at one of the reels and they said, "This is voodoo." And I was like, I was taken back because it just is, it's so not voodoo to me, that we're energy. And but it was really cool because in your book, you bring up the skeptic side of everything that you're looking at. And but you also start out by talking about people like the Wright brothers, who were, these people that created some amazing things in our world that were first thought to be, magicians or fraudulent. Not to say that there aren't people out there like that, but I mean, where would we be today if those people just took the criticism and didn't continue to pursue what was a passion, Um, so I like that. I like that a lot. I mean, Alex is like this, he knows all about all this history stuff that I don't. So he could probably recite like all these times in history where that was the case. And so anyway, that's why I appreciate these conversations, because for people out there that are skeptical, yeah, they could not believe in energy healing, or they could not believe that they're mostly energy, or that they don't have energetic or non-physical support that they can access that's around them and stuff. But life is so much better to me when when we can open ourselves up to a greater understanding of like what and kind of who we are and stuff. So
Yeah, there are different people and different mentality. Most of our people in the world, they are materialistic, and they don't think about this. They don't believe in anything of this kind. But it's a choice. It's your choice. Either you are open to new information, you're open to new ideas, or you just want to see, to be inside an old paradigm. So it's just individual choice. So we have now more and more people who are open, and very important, young people who want to see new information, who want to see new knowledge, and who are interested in spirituality because they are limited in this materialistic world. They want to go outside the boundaries. So that's why all of us, we need to do our job. You do your own, and very important to present this information to people. I do as a scientist, I do my own.
yeah. You mentioned earlier one of the, like the Sputnik, and then you've got an aspect that measures water. What are all the things that the biowell's doing?
You see, water science now, it is a great topic because, you know, water is life.
Mhm.
And we now have a lot of new ideas understanding water. I have a book on Amazon.com about water study, emerging science of water. And there I present some new ideas. But of course, it was several years ago reading this book. Now I have a lot of new ideas. In October, soon we have big conference in Lisbon, in Portugal, where a lot of leading scientists in water study will come together and will be discussing new ideas related to water structure, related to structured water, related to influence of water to people, to our life. So it will be a lot of interesting ideas at this conference, as every time that we come together. So we have instruments that is part of our biowell. And there are sensors, there are special instrument biowell element, which allows to measure different aspects of water. So we can study homeopathy. We can study very subtle solutions. We can study change of water under the influence of our mind, our consciousness, and different devices, so named structured water. And this allows us to understand how we need to deal with water, how we need to change it to make it really very useful and highly valuable for our life.
Mhm. So I know that but the biowell does other things besides kind of these diagnostic experiments, right? You're doing stuff with sound, I think?
Yes, you see, we have a lot of different modalities because I work in integrative medicine, and one of my latest book on integrative medicine principles, again, you can find it on Amazon.com.
Yeah.
So in our centers where I work with, we have sound therapy, we have light therapy, we have magnetic therapy. We have, of course, electromagnetic therapy, high frequency, and we use it with our devices. We have a device under the name BioCore,
Mhm.
which uses music and special earphones where we apply music, which we create from the energy field of particular person, and super high frequency.
Mhm.
And combination of this special music and this super high frequency makes tremendous effect. So it is really very strong device which allows people to get off of stress, to get off of insomnia, of different problems with health. And now it is very popular. There are thousands of instruments in the world that people are using.
That's cool. Yeah, somebody told me their daughter was really helped by a device that they said that we have like our own sound, you know, and sometimes if from concussions or different things, we can, you know, not be receiving that sound or something. I mean, it sounded really interesting to me. And she spent time at a place where she listened to that for a number of hours. And they said for some reason it would take a while, but literally within that time frame, number of months, it was like all her cognitive ability just kind of sunk back in. And so it was all fascinating, you know, to think about. So, well, that's awesome. What do you think? How would you describe some of the colors? Like, why are there color variations, like in the images with the biowell, and then maybe even thinking about, I know it's a different process with the Aura camera, but you know.
You see, what do you mean color? Color, it's a frequency.
Mhm.
So we see colors, but in reality, we see electromagnetic fields in a very narrow range. And then we can see this as different colors because our visual system responds to different frequency and creates image in the brain that attributed to different colors. So in biowell, we are using this principle. We are measuring spectrum of light, and we attribute different colors to different parts of the spectrum. Same as we do with our eyes, but of course, different modalities, different frequency, but it's the same principle. So that is why for us, colors has meaning, and people who are trained in reading those images or trained to understand what does it mean, they can extract a lot of information from colors. And we understand we live in a colorful world. So for us, all of us, it's very important. Of course, some people, they don't see colors, and it's very pity. But most of people, they see world in full play of colors. And that makes our world much more nice, pleasant, and tremendous than it would be black and white.
Right. What, in your experience, what do you think orbs are? Because we see orbs in the photos and they're like interpreted as guides or angels. But people take pictures, like there's a woman who's written a book on orbs, Virginia Hummel, and she talks a little bit about this plasma field, you know, that's around us and stuff. What would you say about orbs?
Orbs, those are, of course, some plasmic creation in the air, in atmosphere, or it may be with water particles, maybe with some other particles that we don't see with our eyes, but we can detect with instruments, in particular photography. And of course, orbs, they have very strong, I would say, related to other dimensions. Because we need to understand, we live in one dimension, in our material world, but there are other dimensions. Dimensions, we can name it dimension of spirits, dimension of other substances, other creatures. And they live nearby us. We live together, but we don't see them because they live in different frequencies. They live in other dimensions of frequency. So we can't detect them neither with our visual eyes nor with most of instruments. But orbs, those are representation of those other dimensions. So that is why they are related to spirits. It's not just random situation nearby lake or nearby something. No. It is presentation of some spiritual topics that communicate with us from other dimensions. This is very interesting experience that I had recently. We had workshop in Orlando, in the United States, and it was one lady, young lady, who told that nearby her house in New Mexico, they had orbs. And she decided to take measurements of those orbs with Sputnik.
Oh, interesting.
And yes, she started doing this measurement, and orbs disappeared, just disappeared. So she was unable to take to see something unusual. Oh, it was just next day. She repeated this experiment, and she told them, "Okay, guys, don't be afraid. It's not dangerous. It's just to measure something." And some orbs appeared, and she was able to change of Sputnik signal. Next day, it was much more orbs. And it's interesting that they were coming much nearer to her. And she was able to make not only photography, but she was able to make video. And on video, you see that this orbs is not just bulb, but it's very interesting life inside. There are some dynamics inside. So it is, and they were coming to her, they were surrounding her, and was bigger, less, so different size.
Oh, that's cool.
And she was very interesting measurement with her Sputnik device.
Yeah. That's I'm sorry, I'm taking all these questions. Alex had some things around this whole concept of observation. Do you want to ask your question about that, Alex?
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you again for being here and taking the time to bring some insight into this from a scientific point of view. I was curious about the relationship of the very famous double slit experiment with quantum physics. I feel like a lot of people in popular culture now are aware remotely of quantum physics, even with the movies and everything, they talk about it. But there's this famous thing of the double slit experiment having to do with our observation of an event. I was curious about your perspective on that in regard to your work and how you've made observations in your experience. What do you say is the influence of that in the way that you see it from your perspective?
You see, I am, I would say, classical physicist. Even if I study non-classical topics, I try to follow our modern understanding of science. And we know that there are many drawbacks in modern science, so we need to change paradigm, and we are changing it slowly. But still, we have a lot of, I would say, basic topics that we have no doubts. First of all, those are Newtonian physics. No doubts that it's absolutely true, that it's real. No doubts. But it has its own limitations. Same with quantum physics. Again, no doubts that it's all the experiments, all explanation, they're absolutely true, but they have their own limitations. Now we understand this. Same with Einstein theory of relativity, again. Same about speed of light. So we understand it's some concepts, like some basis of our science that we are standing on, but now we are developing. We need to make next steps, and we are still waiting for those next steps. We understand that for last practically 100 years, it was nothing really great in science. In technology, yes, it was tremendous achievement in technology. We understand this. We're using our mobile phones, we're using everything, and we talk with you only due to technology. But it was based on developed science. Science that was created in first part of 20th century. So that is why I believe that in some time we'll have new step in our science, steps that would combine our understanding of universe, our understanding of our world, and our understanding of our conscience, our understanding of our spiritual topics. I think that all of us, at least the three of us, on existing of some other types of existence in the universe, in surrounding us. But it is far away from our scientific understanding. If you tell this to some professors, to some scientists, they will tell you, oh, you are crazy. It's all voodoo. It's all nonsense. And I know this attitude for many years. It's not just skeptics. It's people who, not skeptics, they don't believe in what we are talking about. And that makes sense to tell them about this, because they will tell you, oh, it's just a crazy guy. So that is why all these basic experiments that you mentioned about this double slit and many other experiments, they are absolutely true, no doubt, but interpretation may be different. So we have interpretation that we are based on, and this was proven, and without this proof, we wouldn't have this discussion with you by Zoom. We wouldn't have our mobile phone, because it's all based on quantum physics. But we are hoping that it will be next step, combine this understanding of physics, of our reality, plus understanding of our consciousness, and even more than that, at some stage of our spiritual.
We have a little instability in the internet connection here. Can you both hear me?
Yes, I hear
Okay,
you.
okay.
All good over here.
I guess I had a couple more questions just around this whole idea of the Akashic field and these channels of subtle energy around the body. And I've been reading about like glial cells that are 50,000 times in the brain more than like neurons, and like what's your experience now with these channels of energy that are moving around the body, like, and connecting? And I guess that's the other question, is like, what is the definition of consciousness? Seems to be very individual. Everyone's got their own interpretation of what consciousness is, and how it's related to these, or is it related to these fields and these channels, and are there predominant channels that are more than or influencing more than others? Oh, shit.
It's all just different ideas. It's not even concepts. Those are different ideas that try to explain what we see in our reality and to give some explanations. So there are many topics about subtle fields, psyche fields, different channels, but they have no real confirmation. It's a normal stage of development, normal stage, because at the first stage of development, we need to see, to explain to ourselves what's going on around. And then we can support this with some experiments, and only then we can create some concepts. So just recently, we had a big conference on consciousness in Arizona University. It was many, many different ideas, many different concepts, but still, those are all just like first steps. Still, we don't understand what does it mean consciousness. No real idea. We have quantum field principle concepts. We have mathematical concepts. We have tubular concepts, but still those are concepts. And still we are in the first stage of this development, but it's good, because if we don't understand what's going on, if we have questions in science, we have development. We are open to something new. Only when scientists tell, oh, it is well known, we have nothing to do with this, it's all in the textbooks, don't try to make something else, then we are done. So to me, it is, I think, about, on one hand, a lot of people accept what we are doing, so all the people name the crazy guy, crazy scientist. From other hand, we have a lot of things to do from conceptual point of view, and I believe that in some time, maybe it will be 10 years, maybe 20 years, maybe it will be reality, because reality is much more complicated that is written in our textbooks.
In the interview that Alex and I did an interview actually with Alex and Dr. Bruce Lipton, and we were talking about the concept of no death, that the energy field, like, what is that, as far as, and the concept that was Dr. Lipton shared was the idea that there's a continuous stream, and that we are a receiver of that stream of energy, and that when the body dies, the stream is still there. And I know that you have been studying and I didn't see the paper. I'd love to see the paper on hospice patients, where you were studying the energy through the death experience. What would you share around your discoveries and insights with the concept of no death, or that we're, that process with, us being mostly energy?
I prefer to talk about energy after death, or light after death, or life after death. Because listen, death is death. We die with our physical body. That's why we finish our existence in this material world. I have no doubts that our, I would say, energy field, our spirit, our whatever you name it, transform another dimension that we mentioned. And we have many experiments of this kind. I did many experiments with people after death, and it was demonstrated clearly that transformation of their energy depends on the type of their death, how they died, whether it was calm death, whether it was normal death, or was it suicide, murder, suffocation, or something of this kind. Now we, together with our colleagues from Canada, we are in the process of doing experiments where we follow up person before death, and then we see the energy transformation after death. And again, we see that death is not just the end, not just a abrupt end. It's the other way around. And it increases just before death and stayed very high after death.
Oh, cool.
Before, several days before this, yes, it's coming down. It's absolutely clear. So when people are dying, energy is coming down. But just then before this, it comes up. And when the physical body are dead, then we see very high level of energy. And of course, we can interpret it in different way, but I believe that we see this threshold transformation from we see transformation from one life to another life, transformation from this world to another spiritual world. And we have many experiments of this kind. Now we have near-death experiences. We have very interesting experiments of Gary Schwartz. We have a lot of reincarnation experiences of people. So that's why we have a lot of different confirmation in our modern scientific research that show us that after death, we transform to another dimension.
Cool. Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. I've met so many people that still have these beautiful connections with people energetically that have passed. And so that makes sense to me. In the Energy of Consciousness book that I'm reading right now, you mentioned that Saint Germain was involved with some of the things with the idea of the energy field around the body. And there's a woman that we interview in the film who channels Saint Germain, and they gave us the concept of a very broad concept that the idea of the changes when we brought in objects had to do with a resonance of the object, the energy resonance of this, a cellular resonance with us, and a concept around the human blueprint being in the DNA or in the cells. What are your thoughts on this idea that everything is sort of connected energetically, and that the human holds that sort of blueprint as far as register, like everything in our environment and outside of this, supposedly outside of this planet, is in our cells?
You see, now we have really very interesting concepts based on principles of quantum entanglement. And from philosophical point of view, it is really so that we are all interconnected with everything, with every atom in our universe, because it's based on the idea of quantum entanglement and the idea of the Big Bang. But still, those are concepts, those are ideas. We are interconnected with each other. We can easily establish this connection. We may be connected with nature. with mountains, with trees, with forest, with lakes. And this is very strong connection. We may be interconnected with our pets, like Alex with his dog. I'm here.
Right.
Strongly connected. So that is why I believe in these connections.
Mhm.
And you believe in this, if you understand this principle, you can use it for your everyday life. Because we can feed our pets not just to see how they play, but to exchange energy with them. And it's
Yeah,
very important. We
yeah,
go to the forest, not just to get flowers or mushrooms. No, we go there to get energy. You can get energy from the sky in the most powerful type of meditation. It's all different moments of this interconnection. But you need to establish this. You need to apply your own consciousness, your own birds, with animals. It was well known for centuries. And in principle, everybody of us can feel this connection. And it makes your life much more strong and much more, I would say, full of everything.
yeah, that's beautiful. Alex, were there any other questions? Did you have any other thoughts?
Yeah, actually, just based kind of piggybacking off of what you just said, the power of intention and the understanding of what we care about and how we feel, how much that makes such a big impact. And I think that even like kind of other politics, a lot of it's intellectual, very scientific, there's often different opinions on the matter. It's all very much a mental character, and of course, everything is mental. But you just kind of brought up this idea too about the feeling that we get when we go out in nature, not just going out to do these physical material things, picking flowers and whatnot, but it's really just the energy that we feel. So I'm curious too, just I imagine you must have seen some really interesting results with the work that you've done, depending on how people's feel and how people feel they're being when you're working with them, but how you're feeling when you're working. Do you notice any difference about how do you approach a situation when you're doing this type of work? When do you try to be neutral, or do you go in with an intention or a feeling or anything?
See, I'm a scientist and I try to be scientific. That's why I'm totally neutral to what I'm doing. That is why most of our instruments, they're totally automatic. They're not dependent on the person who is using them. Of course, you can influence sensors like water, like a Sputnik sensor if you want. But when we do experiments, we try to, for example, to put sensor somewhere outside in the corner of the room, to leave the room if we have this intention, and to take objective. It's not easy. That's why I understand that we can find a lot of drawback in experiments. But as we have more and more data, hundreds of experiments done in different parts of the world, different scientists, different people, it shows that it's real. And this is the most important. So we can detect human intention, we can detect human emotions, we can detect the process of meditation, and very important, we can detect the influence of all this process to the environment. And it shows us that we are not just inside of our body. We are not just changing our autonomic nervous system. No, we're changing the world by our positive intentions. And of course, some people they change by their negative intentions as well. That's why it's always fighting, it's always play between evil and light, dark and blue sky. So that's what's going on now. And we live in a very complicated time, very difficult times. So I know this very well, much better maybe than many people. So, but it's our destiny. But I'm sure that finally it will be all the problems will be overcome and we come to next level of development.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a beautiful answer. And I love that it came from it is possible because that I think gets lost a lot of the times. I've had experiences going to different events where there were vendors with people that had technology and things like that. But a lot of the times it's really like, maybe the technology is cool, but they're coming at it from a very like spiritual point of view, which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. But I really appreciate and respect that you are coming from a very scientific point of view because that's very, very important, especially bridging the gap into the world of the so-called skeptics and non-believers, because you just said it so clearly. It's like, hey, the technology doesn't really depend on your beliefs as much because it's a machine that basically measures the thing. So having that science that you said so beautifully earlier, that the difference between science and technology, that's like really, really cool. So I just want to say thank you again for being there and holding not only space, but doing the work to bring more science to the table. So thank you.
Yes, I'm happy that I do best what I can do.
For sure.
Open mind, that's most important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. So, it was interesting.
Our connection's kind of unstable. I had a question about quantum apps and futures of these technologies. I think, like you said, there's going to be more and more and more. And I don't know if there is a way to, like what Alex is saying, like to differentiate, to know what is, how those actually work. I don't know how a quantum app works in people's fields, but people are using them that way. Is that where we're going with a lot of this technology?
Of course, that we have artificial intelligence now is a big topic, and we're all involved in this. So we have new instruments, and we are developing all this in our software. We use artificial intelligence, we use new ideas. So I can't tell you what will be in 5 years.
Yeah, yeah.
It's unpredictable. We have new ideas all the time, and some of them, they are really revolutionary ideas, technology. And I hope, as we've been discussing, that still at some moment we'll have new insights in science as well, in
Yeah.
our understanding of reality and the way how we can in this understanding of reality.
Mhm. Well, thank you. Alex, did you have anything else?
No, that's great. I think that really covers so many wonderful avenues of subject. And I, again, just thank you for your time and for all the work that you do. Real helpful and brings a lot of really useful perspective to the stuff that we're working on. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Great pleasure. Okay.
All
Okay.
right.
Yeah. I just wanted to say you've been, oh, he's gone. No,
Yeah,
gone.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes that's the thing, when people were interviewed, you gotta be very careful with their time. They got a dedicated time. They got a heart out. Uncle Bruce is an exception. Uncle Bruce has sometimes he's a heart out. Say, even though it screw up his schedule later, and that's a big that he has. We have with him, but with a lot of other people, sometimes like, hey, the guy